Welcome, everyone. Today is April the 5th, 2023. This is our All Lives Matter call with Alex Loyd and David Peck, myself, Johanna Chan. I'll be assisting them. Before we hear from them about our topic today, let me share this disclaimer. The presentation is for education and informational purposes only. And since we're going to be talking about issues of health and well-being, we wanted to make sure that you understand this information is not intended to heal or cure anything. Everything in the presentation are the opinions of Alex Loyd, David Peck, myself, Johanna Chan, or you if you choose to share. You should always check with a licensed healthcare provider about any specific health concerns you may have. All right, take it away, guys.
Thanks so much, Johanna. I'm Alex Loyd. I don't know who the guy is in the middle. I think he's some homeless guy that we invited to.
Soon to be.
I'm kidding. That is Dr. David Peck, one of the top medical doctors in the world. And Johanna Chan, you can't see her, but she's here too. She's that mystery voice in the background. So anyway,
kind of sexy, right?
Yeah, right. So let's get started. Dave, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I just want to mention, I want to thank Alex, because every week I come to you with ideas or whatever it is, and you're always, open to it. You've given me carte blanche. So I really appreciate that, we can discuss what I want to discuss, basically.
No, it's not necessarily carte blanche. It's great ideas. So okay, go ahead.
Okay. So we're continuing now this week on our mental slavery control methods. And we've talked about mind control. We've talked about sabotage. We've talked about group 3 humiliation. And this week is judgment, group 4. We still have to go group 5 and group 6, which are banishment and intimidation, and plus what I call in your face. But anyway, the judgment for this week includes, and this is a list. I mean, you can add things into the list. It's just a running list: judging, critiquing, evaluating, editorializing, expert opining, and especially commentating. So, the whole idea here is that these control methods have consciously and unconsciously, we believe, been applied to us over the course of time and incorporated into our being, so that we're actually doing it to ourselves or we're doing it to others. And what has happened, what I strongly believe, I think Alex would back me up on this, is that as a result of these control mechanisms, they have forced us into a situation where we cannot be our authentic self. We cannot live our best life because we're constantly, under this, in these mental chains where, I have to do this because what would they think, or et cetera, So, that's just one example. But now, so judgment's a big one for me. I've talked about the Peck's character before. This is something that was passed down to me. I believe it occurred in the generation, my grandfather, my father's father, as a result of loss of a fortune in Korea. My great-great-grandfather was a helmet maker. He had a factory or something, apparently made a great fortune, and was like, very wealthy in this small area of South Korea. But now his son inherited the fortune, and he basically lost the fortune. Anyway, so and this character has been passed down to me from my father. It includes being Mr. Know-it-all, holier than thou, a verbal bully, judgmental, hypercritical, and condescending. Whoa, what a combination there, right? Okay.
Let me live somewhere else.
Oh my God, I've been dealing with this my whole life. Okay, this is not it's not funny, actually. It's actually serious, to have that. But and oftentimes to have it internal, So like, I'm not necessarily saying that I'm judging, but I'm judging, naturally judging, even unaware, just criticizing. As soon as you see something, it's just like hypercritical right into that. Anyway, so that, that had a major impact on my life. Now, the other thing I wanted to just touch on for a minute is this commentating, because I think it's very relevant and pervasive and very important. The idea of commentating. Now, this is different than, and I'm open. Alex can always correct me when if I'm, if I'm being sort of off the mark, but it's different. There's a fine line between journalistic reporting, where you're providing information, that useful information that people are interested in, and commentating, which is, as I see it, it's kind of like showing superiority, like, oh, he's doing this and he's doing that. I'll just give you my example. I used to make these videos of my kids a lot of times when they're beautifully cute kids, two boys playing chess or whatever it was they were doing. So I made a lot of like these videos, and I have them still, but I'm always commentating. Oh, he did this and this and this and that. And I'm looking at that now and I'm like, Dave, you're such an idiot. You're such a control freak. Why don't you just video the guys and let, them do what they're doing? But no, he had to do it. And this is unconscious. I'm not saying, I need to control, but I am controlling. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about was, because I'm a jazz musician, and jazz musicians have really gotten the short end of the stick in America. I'm sorry, I just have to say this, having spent my whole life playing jazz and hanging out playing jazz sessions in, the neighborhoods, basically South Philly and, the Village and everywhere, Brooklyn, anywhere, etc. So, I'm listening to Miles Davis talking about, something on an interview, right? And he's talking about how the critics, right? So there was a day when, because the critics are there, they're critiquing, they're always like, oh yeah, he played a great solo, and blah, blah, blah. It's controlling the situation. But he's talking about, there was a time when they had the critics, because they were friendly and everything. They said, okay, we're going to have a jam session. We're going to have all the critics come in and play. And so the musicians, the guys who were being critiqued, they got to sit there and listen to the critiquers, and that made me really think, who is critiquing and what are they doing? Why, I mean, of course there's nice ones and kind, and they're like, oh, giving credit and here and that, but what is it? It's controlling. It's saying I have an opinion that's important. And it puts the musician, the actual artist, the person that's really creating the great stuff, it puts them in a box in a way. And so, that's another way that, we're talking about mental slavery. These are just examples. So I guess I'll pass it on to Alex now.
All right. Thanks, Dave. This is one of the biggest issues in my life, and always has been. Some of I've talked about it publicly. When I first started the Healing Codes, I had a number of people who wrote about me and interviewed me, especially when my book became a bestseller and things like that. And they were professional skeptics. If you Google that, you'll find them. There's a whole bunch of them out there. I think they kind of preceded the influencers. Today you have influencers. They're not exactly the same, but the professional skeptics, I think, were before there were influencers, and they literally get paid to tear people down. That's their thing. And they have a website, and it's about how all these things you've heard of and all the people that are doing them are bad or crooked or it doesn't work or whatever. And most of them are atheists. And most of them are very into strict science and kind of nothing else, okay? And on one of the bigger ones, I was sort of honored. I think I was number 2 on what they called their Quack Watch, okay? And I had like a 98 rating out of like 100 on the Quack Watch, and I was number 2. And there were some really famous people on there. I'm not. But I was sort of honored
Yes,
about
you are.
because there were some really cool and famous people on there. And one of them interviewed me, and I think you can still probably find this interview somewhere. And his entire point over an hour, so he made it many times, is that everything I was saying was wrong because I did not have any double-blind studies. And in the world today, double-blind studies are our proof. They're our north, our GPS for what works and what doesn't, what is real and what's not. And so his entire thing was what everything I was saying about the healing codes and energy and stuff like that was wrong because we did not have double-blind studies. That's all he needed to know. He didn't need anything else except that, all right? Well, guess what? And there were others that said similar things. Well, guess what? After double-blind studies started coming out and published in peer-reviewed journals, all that sort of thing, and today we have 18 of them and 3 comparison studies, all of them saying it works, and most of them saying it works better than the things that are mainstream, like the most popular counseling, therapy, and life coaching. There's literally studies saying mine works better than that. Well, as you might imagine, I've not received a single apology. There's not been a single retraction that I know of. Even though now I not only have proof, I have their proof, what they consider proof. And they still, they haven't said anything else bad about me. They can't. I think they're afraid if they say something bad now, I'll respond with the 18 double-blind studies and they'll look silly. But my point is, they out of hand dismissed me and what I was saying was true because I did not have double-blind studies. Now that I do, they don't care. They don't care, all right? So what were they doing? They were judging me, and they were judging the healing codes, and they were judging what I do, okay? And they judged it wrongly and have not done anything to try to make that right, as far as I know. And I've got a problem with that. I would not do that. I consider that a lack of integrity. I consider it unethical, okay? They obviously don't. And I don't mean to get on a soapbox about that. I'm fine about that. I kind of like the quack watch thing, especially now. But my big thing is when I grew up in church, in a church school, and in a church home, okay? And I'll never forget, when church was over, it was a little small country congregation, about 70 people, little building. And when church was over, all the men would go outside and start smoking, all right? They just did. That's what they did. And I was a little kid, so I would go outside to play tag and stuff. But where I played tag was right next to where they were smoking. And so I could hear them. And I promise you, if I had a Bible here, I'd put my hand on it and swear. What they talked about almost all the time was other people.
Right.
In a negative way. They talked about the blacks. They talked about the Jews. They talked about the Hispanics. They talked about the poor people. Well, that were poorer than they were, I guess. They talked about the rich people. They didn't like them either. Okay. They talked about the other churches and what they were wrong about. The politics and what they were wrong about. And it was just nonstop, constant judging. It's like that was a sport to them. It's like that was football to them.
Alex, why were they doing it?
They're doing it out of their own sense of a lack of worth. Right. And one of the most shocking things in my entire life is when I woke up, when I was about 20 years old in college, woke up spiritually, I might say, and realized that I was judging people wrongly and had been all my life. And I believe it's because I grew up that way, like those guys from church, only it was everywhere. It was school, it was church, it was home, it was everywhere, all right? So I grew up thinking that was normal. And when I was 20 years old in college, I judged someone and they found out about it and contacted me very kindly. And let me tell you, I was so ashamed because the way I had judged them was 180 degrees wrong. It was untrue. They had not done that. They were a wonderful person, I came to find out. And I realized I judge people if their hair's too long. I judge a guy if he was wearing an earring. I judge if they have a tattoo. I judge if they, like Dave, have the look of another ethnicity. Yeah. And let me tell you, it devastated me. And I made a vow to God that I'm going to quit doing this. And I don't say I have 100%, but probably 99. And so to me, judging is one of the biggest issues of my life, but I believe it's one of the biggest issues of almost everyone's life. I had a teaching that I used to do that I called the 2 things that would ruin any good day. And they were comparison and expectation. And both of those require you to judge first. You can't do them without judging first. Okay. Well, I'll end with this. There's a passage in the Bible, ancient passage written thousands of years ago, that mentions gossip, which is what those men were doing outside of the church building smoking. And what judging leads to is gossip is just saying what you're thinking negative about other people. That's all it is. Okay. That is not necessarily true. And the passage has gossip in the same sentence with murder as being wrong. And right there in the same phrase with murder, okay? And it says, if you do this, you will not be forgiven yourself. It's that big a deal to God that we not judge, okay? So it has been the huge issue. Almost every client I've ever had, judging has been an issue to them. For a number of them, when they were able to stop judging, their life changed. And I'll tell you, when I was 20 and realized how judgmental I was, and it shook me up, and I changed, let me tell you, it was like my eyes were opened. And I was like, oh my goodness, how could I have ever done that? And how much better it feels to not be doing this all the time, judging Dave for this, or Johanna for that, or me for this, or Hope for that. Let me tell you, I started feeling so much more energy and freer in my life when I quit judging. It made a huge difference, and it still does in me today. And that's been one of the secrets to me of my transformation from poor health and not feeling real great and all that, to really great health and feeling wonderful like I'm 20 every day. I quit judging about 40 years ago, and it changed everything. So, Dave, you want to add anything and start with the code?
I had just one quick story, just because you were talking about the guy smoking and all. But when in surgery residency, there's a tradition basically. So we get up as surgeons, we get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and we go round on patients, because we have to go to the OR at 7 or 8 or whatever. But the morning breakfast was a time when, between rounds and the OR, there would be times, and sometimes there would be, a good amount of time people would be sitting down. All the residents would get together and sit at the cafeteria table, and we would have basically gossip rounds, judging rounds, and you go through, where you talk about the younger residents, and that was what it. So that just totally reminded me of exactly those guys. So that was the story. I did want to just say one other thing before we do and I do have a healing code to share, but I just wanted to say one thing about. And it's not slightly off topic, but I think it's important. I wouldn't want to sort of get it off my chest, but the idea of computing and AI, or artificial intelligence. I'm calling this the glorification of AI. And the problem I have is that AI has been saying oh, this is so great and everything like that, and I'm like, no, AI is actually dumb. It's you can tell it what to do and do this kind of, and the reason I'm saying this is because this goes to the perfection and the glory of we as human beings.
Right.
We have imagination. I say, ask a computer, the AI, the most powerful AI with all this data, say, imagine you're sitting on a beach. And I'm like, how simple is that? It can't do that. I'm saying we have imagination, we have creativity. So that's why we can love, these things. So I want to just say, people, because like a lot of times, people not feeling good about themselves and stuff. Why are we perfect? Why are we so good? Because we're human and we have it way above those computers. I say, forget about all that data stuff. I mean, it can be helpful. You could use it as a tool, but don't put it on a pedestal, please. I'm sorry to it's a soapbox.
No, I wanted to add one thing to what you said. I think it's really important. The latest studies about the capacity and power of the human brain, and they do these all the time, but the latest ones shocked them, because what they discovered is that the capacity of the human brain and mind was about 100 times even the most optimistic previous estimates. And the latest they've been able to confirm is over 1 quadrillion bits. That's the power of the human mind and brain. 1 quadrillion bits. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to know what that is? It's basically the power and capacity of the entire internet. Wow. In one human brain and mind. They don't compare. They can't compare.
Right.
They can't compare. What we have is miraculous.
And if I can add to that, the whole point of this is that as long as we have those mental slavery chains on our brains, we're only going to use like less than 1% of what we can do, what we can have. So we need to break those chains so we can get that quadrillion.
That's right. Amen. All right, let's do the code.
Okay. So, okay. All right. So we pray to God. I don't call him Father because I think God is binary. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. We pray to God. We request, for those who don't, pray to God, we request that all negative, destructive cellular memories, unhealthy habits, addictions, false limiting beliefs, and relationship issues that are related to being judgmental or any of the offshoots of judging, either ourselves or from others, or to ourselves, or we to others, that they be found, opened, and healed through love, light, truth, and God.
Amen.
Okay, first position is both hands in the temples for judgmentalism. Second position, left hand Adam's apple, right hand bridge.
And ladies and gentlemen, in the healing codes categories, this would be goodness and kindness. Judging and forgiveness is in the goodness category. And the kindness, of course, is being kind, and judging is typically being unkind. And I would say, even if the people never hear you say the judgment, they may feel it, even if you never say it from you.
Can it also be in control, self-control
Yeah,
also?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
could. Yeah, yeah. Versus trust.
Okay, third position, left hand temple, right hand bridge. Left hand temple, right hand bridge. Okay, fourth position, left hand jaw, right hand Adam's apple. Left hand jaw, right hand Adam's apple. Position 4. Okay, back to the first position, both hands temples. We'll just do one more, a second cycle. Both hands temples. Second position, left hand Adam's apple, right hand bridge. Left hand Adam's apple, right hand bridge. Okay, third position, left hand temple, right hand bridge. Left hand temple, right hand bridge. And fourth position, left hand jaw, right hand Adam's apple. Left hand jaw, right hand Adam's apple. Let's just go back to position 1 again. Both hands temple, both hands temples. This will be it. Yeah, okay.
All right. Go to Trilogy. So side of the hand, middle of the chest, temples, thumb, under the nose, collarbones, index finger, under the arms, under the eyes, middle finger, under the nipples, chin, sore spot, 9G. Eyes open, closed, open, eyes down to the left, down to the right. Circle your eyes, circle them back the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, let's activate governing and conception vessel 3 times. 3 times. If it hurts, you're pushing too hard. Should not hurt.
I've had a pain in my shoulder for a long time, so sometimes it does.
Oh, bummer.
But not because of the thing, just because of the shoulder.
Yeah. All right, now custom healing centers. Let's start with heart. Please open and harmonize. Forehead, please open and harmonize. Base or root on the pubic bone, please open and harmonize. Throat, please open and harmonize. Crown, please open and harmonize. Under the belly button, please open and harmonize. And middle of the stomach, please open and harmonize. All right, and then let's do both hands brainstem. Both hands brainstem. We're gonna do about a minute. You might do 2, doing it on your own at home. Very powerful. This is basically your ancestry, unconscious and subconscious mind. And those are 1,000,000 times more powerful than your conscious intention. And the definition of them is you don't know what they are. So very, very powerful. And both hands over the heart, slow, deep breaths, let it process. When you're ready, take a look at the 0 to 10 and note any change. Share one other thing before we open it up for questions. One of the craziest things to me these days, and I shouldn't even bring this up, I know, because somebody here is going to get mad because it's such a hot topic these days. But it's unbelievable to me. You have the same world events happening to the whole world, but you go to CNN and CNN says it's the Republicans' fault and this is why. And you go to Fox News and it says it's the Democrats' fault and here's why. And you have approximately 50% of the United States on either side. How can that be? How can that be?
It's called controlled opposition.
Yeah, but
it's
anyway,
all in one box.
Yeah, but the point is, of the same event that's happening, 50% of people would swear and even get mad maybe that this is the truth about this, and the other group would swear and get mad and swear exactly the opposite is the truth. That's judging. And somebody's obviously judging wrong in that situation. So if we can
they both be judging wrong?
Yeah, they can. And I think if we could do nothing else in the world with all the craziness going on, except to get people to quit judging and start being kind, it would change the whole world. It would change the whole world. So
what about turning off the television?
That too. So Johanna, if we have questions, I can probably stay for one, but I'm already a couple of minutes late for a client. So open it up and I'll
okay. So Bridget, I'm opening your line, Bridget. If you want to unmute.
Hi, Bridget.
Hello, Dr. Alex. Hello, Dr. David.
David.
I think this is a wonderful healing code because, as you say, I think everybody suffers with this, and I, in particular, am notorious for doing this to people. My children tell me all the time I'm very, very judgmental, and I stopped about 2 weeks ago, but it's very difficult to stop it when you're so used to doing it all the time. But I definitely feel better from stopping it. But it is difficult to do. And, but it is, and everything you said, Dr. Alex and Dr. David, I am guilty of every single thing that you have spoken.
Me too.
Me three.
Yeah, I'm absolutely, my children tell me all the time, I look at a photograph and I say, oh my God, look at the state of that person, and things like that. And I don't really mean to be unkind, because I'm not an unkind person, but I am very, very judgmental. So I'm looking forward to doing this healing code. And I want to say thank you very much to both of you for giving it to us. The other thing, doctors, is that I've been doing the universal healing code on my mentally incapable uncle. He's elderly and he hadn't been feeling well for a while. So I started in the last couple of days doing the healing code, just the universal healing code. And I have to say, in a couple of days, he has improved significantly because, as I say, he's not able to do it himself. So I've done it for him. And I'm not sure if I'm doing it right, but I'm doing something right because he has improved.
You're doing it right and it's getting better.
Yeah, and just
Proof
one
is in
more
the
thing,
pudding,
Dr.
right?
Alex. I was just wondering, with your healing codes, how successful are they at treating people with MS?
Very first client I ever had a breakthrough with had MS, and I was not treating her for MS. I was treating her for anxiety. But she came back to me after we'd had a number of sessions over a couple of months. And she said, I don't remember telling you that I had MS. And she had this serious look on her face. I was a little thrown off. She looked so serious. And she said, I just came from Vanderbilt Hospital and I don't have MS anymore. And the only thing I changed was doing these, she called them things. They didn't have a name. They were the healing codes. So,
but
we've heard of a number of people. She was the first one of any client I ever had with a physical healing. It was MS.
Right. Yes. But have you ever healed anybody with MS that's in a wheelchair?
Yeah, she was.
Oh.
Yeah, or she had been. Yeah. Not
right. Yes. No, I have a very close relative with MS and she's in a wheelchair. And I was saying that maybe I would, when I finish healing my uncle, I would get myself and my sisters to try to do the healing code for her because she's not able to do it herself. And maybe we'll see how we progress with that. I was just curious, Dr. Alex, seeing as you did say a couple of weeks ago you had somebody with ALS who was on a feeding tube, which was remarkable that she cured herself of ALS, which is just unbelievable, and it just shows you that the healing codes have a significant impact on people's lives. And for me, Dr. Alex and Dr. David, it has helped me significantly. I will tell you about that some other time. It would go on forever and ever, but thank you very much, Dr. Alex and Dr. David. And I look forward to this Zoom meeting every Wednesday evening. It just keeps me going, and I want to say thank you. And everybody that's on it that speaks are just beautiful. I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you. And I do have to run. Sorry, everybody. That last ALS was only about a month ago, and I think that's about 12 so far, and about 8 of them were personal clients of mine, and it's the worst thing on the planet. So. And that's one reason. That's one reason, actually, that one of the professional skeptic guys said that we were a fraud because Dr. Ben healed of ALS, but what standard medicine says is that no one has ever healed of ALS, and no one can heal of ALS with what we know at this point. So it's never happened. So if you guys are saying somebody healed of ALS, you have to be a fraud. So because Dr. Ben healed of ALS, we were a fraud. So anyway, I got to go. Love you guys.
So typical. Yeah.
Love
you, Alex.
Sayonara.
Okay.
I didn't know he spoke Japanese.
Okay, I have another hand up. Let's see what Annie, if you want to unmute.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, how are you, Dr. David?
Good.
I had a quick question for you, Johanna and Dr. David, for both of you guys. I was just curious. Recently, I've been talking to several people who seem to have been struggling with some very unusual health symptoms. I've known a few people that have, one passed away suddenly at a fairly young age. He was about 50, in his 50s or 60s, and then another woman had a heart attack. And I believe with all certainty, as I think they do too, that it is related to the COVID vaccinations. And I've just been talking to some friends who have said my health has never been the same after I got vaccinated and boosted. And I was just wondering if it's possible that the healing codes could help that.
I've been saying that. I do very much believe that, because the COVID vaccine, essentially it's immune modulating, and it has an effect on the immune system, and so decreasing your internally generated stress, I feel that this is one of the best ways to try to reverse the effects of. I strongly believe that. I don't have any evidence or anything like that, but I mean, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been hard to watch. It's been hard to see. I've just been watching people's health. It seems to be deteriorating, and they go to doctors, and doctors don't know what to do for them. And once again, I'm like, well, maybe the codes will help. Maybe the codes will help. So,
you destroy your defenses. Our defense systems are being destroyed. So all these different things can come out in, various, the ailments. So I'm pleased to let people know, reverse the effects by decreasing your own internally generated. Because what I believe is that the people that have the worst reactions to the COVID vaccines are the ones that are also nervous about it, or whatever, generating their own internal stress on top of. So in other words, as your immune system is being compromised and slightly destroyed, you're generating more of a I say, like an insult, like a toxic insult to it. So it's amplifying the effect. Do you follow that sort of thing? Yeah.
Yes. Mm. Wonderful. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. If you're on the phone and you have a question, *9 is going to raise your hand, or you can, actually, I think we're going to go ahead and switch gears since you don't have any more questions. I'm going to end the recording, and we're going to go ahead and allow any of you who would like to get a custom code